Shalom and welcome back. This is going to be lesson number 2. So in the lesson series we're going to be learning about how to understand and how to break down things in Biblical Hebrew and the elements by which we are going to be learning and reviewing over and over again. You've got the vocabulary, so now we're going to utilize the vocabulary here in this actual text. So let's read. Vaydeber Adam, and Adam spoke, El Chava, unto Chava, Vayomer, and he said, Aleha, unto her, Ani Adam, I am Adam. Alright, so the verse word we have here is Vaydeber. Alright? So Vaydeber, when we talked about in the last videos, we talked about the verb tables. We talked about the charts and how important these charts are. Okay? So let's learn something important that we need to know about what's going on here with this. Here we know this is the Vav conversive, and the Vav conversive creates the ability of changing a future verb into a past. Okay? So if we eliminate the Vav conversive, for example, here for a second, we'll put the Vav conversive over here. Alright? What do we have left is Yidaber. Yidaber, we know, if we go and look at the chart, well, we have to ask ourselves what chart. Okay? So, let's look at something we need to know here. We know that this here, because it's a future tense verb, that this is the pronoun. What do we have left is 3 root letters. Now we have something special about this root, and that's this dagesh. If we see the dagesh in the middle of the root, which is the second root letter, we know that this follows under the category what's called PL. PL, also written like this, PL. PL are verbs that have to do with intensification. Okay? So here, what always takes place with PL verbs is the dagesh goes in the middle root letter. Now we're going to assume that this obviously is not a guttural, so that we can identify it immediately. So here we have an unguttural, which is what our bed is, and we know that this is the PL form. So if I were to go here and look in the PL chart, I would begin to start identifying what are the possible forms for this PL verb. Because you have to first know what the form is. You know it's future. Then you have to find out where is the stem, which means what group of morphology charts is this verb going to follow. Well, now we identified it as PL. Once we know that, then we can go into the morphology chart and we can pull it apart. Let me give you an example of this. Alright. So, if I was to go to the charts that I told you about that are listed on the website, I would go to the chart that I have created for PL. Alright, in the PL chart, here, I would start going through and looking for the form that falls. We know that the Yud is the front. So literally, if I were to take this chart here, and I would see all of the vowelizations are correct, I know that this Yidaber is the third person. it's masculine, and it's singular. Okay? I know because the chart shows me this. Okay? I want to understand what all are the possibilities of how this thing will look. For the most part, it's not going to deviate from that of the Powell chart we looked at when we were going to the beginning to identify the future and identify the past and the shalom form. Here, the only differentiation we have is a little vowel difference, and we have the dagesh, what's in the second letter. So I know that this is a whole verb because it follows the whole chart, and I know this is PL, and so therefore we find that all of these things give me what I need to know with regard to the connections that I should be looking for when identifying it. Then when we go back to here, because we know this is the third person masculine singular form, the next thing I want to ask myself is, what is the noun? Okay? Is the noun the subject, or is the noun something that is used like a statement? Well, I know the word dalet bet resh, the root. If I was to put it up here, right? Erase this for a second. Dalet bet resh means to speak. Okay? So dalet bet resh means to speak. So I know that this noun is obviously going to be the subject. Okay? So that means Adam is third person masculine singular. Well, of course, it's a name. It's Adam. And when we say Vaydeber Adam, we know that here to here is basically my subject and my verb. Alright? That's what I have for the beginning of my sentence. The next one is my preposition. My preposition is no different than the prepositions we use in English. Okay? But we have to identify when the preposition is a inseparable or separable. When it's separable, we're not going to see anything attached to it. Okay? The only thing we'll see attached to a separable preposition will be like our example over here where we have a pronoun attached, but we'll get to that a little later. So here we have the preposition el. So vaydeber Adam, el we know means to. Okay? So who is he speaking? He's speaking to someone. And who's the one he's speaking to, we know, is the next part. Okay? This is called the object of the preposition. So we have a preposition, el. We have the object of the preposition, chava. Chava is a feminine noun, and typically they translated the word Eve. Okay? Chava means life. Okay? So here, Adam spoke el, preposition to, Chava, the object of the preposition. Okay? Now we have a new sentence starting. Vayomer. Here we have a verb, and we have to break the verb down like we did the first time. Most times when you're going to find with regard to your reading is you're going to find in reading Torah or Hebrew, the main categories you're going to find is you're going to say he, she, they are basically your forms of all of what you're going to read predominantly, because when you're talking about something as a narrative, you always put it in the third person category. Okay? So here this is what you find predominantly being used often over and over again in the third person. The only time that third person changes is when the person is speaking. And then when the person's speaking, we go from that to you, I, we. We're going to the feminine and the masculine singular forms, the masculine and the feminine plural forms, and of course the I and the we. So here we're going into second and first person mode, okay? So we just have to remember this, that when we're talking about narrations, obviously we're just talking about events that took place, we're going to be using the third person. When we're talking about people speaking, we're going to be going into the second and third person. Only going to be dependent upon the factor is who is the one that needs to speak. Is he saying it for himself? It's going to be first person. If he's talking himself, but he's talking to others, okay? Excuse me. When he's talking to when he's talking about others, excuse me, you're going to see this in the second person. You know, you go over there and you go do this and you go take care of that, okay? And so in Hebrew we have to know and remember something important with regard to the first, second, and third person formats. And that's the fact that whenever we're dealing with speaking, okay? If Moshe, let's say for example, if Moshe is the one speaking, when he wants to refer to himself, he will use the first person, okay? He has to, right? When he wants to refer to someone else, he has two options. If it's directly referring to the person, then we know that he will speak in the second person, okay? So Moshe, when he's going to speak to someone, he'll speak in the second person. When he speaks about someone, we know he's using the third person. So here we have the I, the you, the we, the he, the she, and the they. Okay? So if Moshe is collectively in talking about somebody, he's going to say I or we. Okay? So we're going to see that within the verb. Okay? For example, if you wanted to say I will speak, Adaber. Okay, Moshe. Adaber, I will speak. Okay? So if Moshe wants to speak, he'll say, Adaber, I will speak. I will speak el to ha'am, the people. Okay? And when we talked about this, we talked about this some before in other videos, but in this one we're going to focus on the fact that we have basically three ways to deal with prepositions and the object of the preposition. If the object of the preposition is a proper noun, such as we have here, this is a proper noun, we're using a name, okay? When the object of the preposition, which is down here, and here's my prep, is a noun that's definite, we're going to use the definite article. Okay, so here we have a definite article that's used with my noun. Alright? We have a third way of doing this, but we'll learn this one later as we focus upon what we're learning here. Okay? So, when Moshe wants to speak about himself, you will use the first person just like you normally would. So you have to think about this, is where's the pronoun? Okay, whether it's past or future. So whether he's saying in the past tense, Dibarti, I spoke. Here we know the past tense indicated by the ending, also known as the suffix, or it's by the prefixed pronoun. So suffix is the end pronoun, prefix is the beginning pronoun. And this is going to just help us remember the modes by which we're going to have to keep back and forth moving in with regard to verbs of speech. Okay? So the preposition is going to have, like we said, basically 3 points. We're going to learn here 2 of them directly. We'll learn one a little later. So in this one, what are the points? One is it'll be a proper noun. So the L will be followed by a proper noun. Okay, that's 1 point. Number 2 is L followed by a noun that's definite, having the definite article. Alright? So that's the other thing. So the L is going to be followed by a noun that's definite, which carries the definite article. Okay? And like I said, there's a 3rd point, but we'll learn this one later. Alright? So here we have Vayomer. And what is Vayomer? Vayomer, once again, you can see that this book likes to stick to the 3rd person a lot. But nonetheless, it's important because this is what we're going to see predominantly as we go through reading in scripture. We're going to start seeing a lot of the 3rd person is used, whether it's singular or plural, but it's very typical. Okay? So, Vayomer, we take away this part. We know that this is the Vav conversive. Why is this a Vav conversive? Because the Vav has the Petach, and we know that there's a dagesh put here, and that's put in the pronoun area. So we know it's a Vav conversive, which means it makes the future past. But remember, in Hebrew, if you were reading this in the text without the vowels, it's very possible you could be reading just a future verb. And the only difference would be is the dagesh would disappear, and this would say this. Vayomar. Okay? That's all it is. So we're just doing a little bit of vowelization change. Don't get caught up in the vowel things, like as if everything's off, bidyuk exact with the fact of freaking out. If you see the form, just know the form mostly than the vowels. Why am I saying this? Just because the form of the verb, if you know that there's only one form for Amar, Aleph Mem Resh, okay, the root. If you know there is only one form, and this form, there's no PL for this, there's only Pa'al form, and there's only a future form for this one, then you know for yourself that if you go to the future tense verb chart, you have all the vowels for it, okay? You don't need to go and worry so much about it. Just memorize the roots and memorize the forms to understand quickly how to identify the verb, okay? So here, once again, this is 3rd person. This is our pronoun. It's masculine and it's singular, alright? And then, of course, we have Amar, Aleph Mem Resh. So Vayomer, and he said. So now we have, and he said. Now we're stuck with something unique. This here is the preposition, and this has my objective pronoun attached to the preposition. So now my object is attached to the preposition. So what do I need to know about this? Well, this part here is vitally important because now we have to focus upon memorizing our prepositions. So if we take the word L, alright, L is the preposition form without anything attached to it. There are two types of prepositional forms. One we talked about, which is inseparable, and one which is separable, alright? The inseparable was the one which is like lamed. It's an inseparable, which means it has to be attached to my noun. So if I have this, the next thing I can look for basically is my noun, okay? Lamed also can be used with verbs, but here just look at this and the fact of noticing the lamed preposition is going to be attached to my noun, alright? The separable prepositions, we're going to see that there's going to basically be the preposition, and then of course after it we're going to get the object, okay? And the object can be this. We're going to identify that here in this point. The object can be based upon 4 standards, okay? So we have an object which is a proper noun. We have an object which is an indefinite noun. We have an object which is the definite noun with the definite article. And the last thing, we have a definite noun that has a noun with a pronoun that's possessive. Okay? So, if I have this, what does this look like? Okay, so let's look at this thing. Okay, so proper noun we have up here. We'll write it up here. L. And then we're going to put chava. So el chava. So here's my proper noun. Okay? And here's my prep. Alright? The next one is an indefinite noun. Okay? This is going to follow like this. L. El Yeled. So here we have an indefinite noun, Yeled, which is child. And here's my prep. The next category, we have a definite noun with a noun article. So here we have the word el. And then we have the word, for example, like bait. So el habayit, unto the house. So what do we find? We find the definite article. This is the definite article. Here we have our noun and our prep. Okay? So therefore we follow 3. Preposition with proper noun, preposition with indefinite noun, preposition with noun that has definite article, as in habayit, and lastly, we have our definite noun with the possessive pronoun ending. Okay? And I'll write that down here. So this would be like El Susi. Susi is the possessive pronoun, and here's the noun. So here we have, if I was to, let me look at this a little more. The yud at the end of Susi, okay, which is my horse. If you want to know about nouns and all of the possible pronoun endings you want to understand what could be possibly put on, check out my video that's about nouns and the possessive pronoun endings, both in the singular as well as in the plural. Because this is going to incorporate all of this here about the possessive pronoun ending for the nouns. So there's your 4 classifications that you have for preposition. You have, number 1, an inseparable one. The inseparable one, we're going to follow this later because we're going to have other examples where we're going to need to focus on this one. Here we're just going to focus on the separable one, where we're looking at it from 2 point of views. One, where we see it's separated, and the next one is a proper noun. But it could be a proper noun, it could be an indefinite noun, it could be a definite noun with the hey article, or it could be a noun with the possessive pronoun ending. And that is going to incorporate all of the possibilities that we have with regard to prepositions in this area. Okay? Now we're going to go to the one more level, which is going to add to this, and this is going to be with the pronoun ending. Which means here, I'm going to actually take my preposition L, and in this, I'm actually going to attach a pronoun to it. And so what we have is, we have a chart like this. You go on the website, you can pull it up, and here you can see on the chart we have the word L, and we have all of the things from my, you, his, her, ours, yours for feminine, theirs, and theirs at the end. And this chart is great for memorizing. You can use this chart to go look up. You can see the preposition with all the prepositional pronoun endings to it. So what are they? Okay, so we have, I'll start over here. Eli, unto me. This is the first person. Elecha, unto you. This is the second person, and this is the masculine form. Elaich, the second person, but this is the feminine form. Let me move some of this stuff over here so I can make some more room. Elav, this is third person, which means unto him. Obviously it's masculine. And then we're going to do Aleha, which is what we're going to see here, which is unto her. And here, if we see this chart, and we go, oh, here we go, the preposition with the object pronoun attached. It's unto her. This is the third person. This is the feminine form, and it's singular. Okay? So I know that this means unto her. Okay? Now I'm going to finish the chart so you can see it all, as well as if you pull it on the actual site, you can see it also for yourself. Aleinu, unto us. Aleichem, unto you. So here this is first person plural. This is second person plural, and this is masculine. And then we got Aleichem, this is the second person plural, unto you, and this is feminine. And then we have lastly Aleihem, unto them. This is the third person plural, masculine form. And then lastly, Aleihen, which is the third person plural form, and it's feminine. Alright? So you need to memorize the best you can these charts so you can get familiar with knowing how to translate this, and to see also the vowelization as you'll see in here. So notice we've talked about the L. The L is the preposition by which it can be either used by itself or it can be used with an objective pronoun. Okay, and that's what we're using as the objective pronoun. So here when we attach the objective pronoun to it, we translate it unto, just like the L means, and then we just add the objective pronoun her onto it, so now it's under her. The last part of the sentence here, which we're going to focus upon, is the issue of this next part. And this next part is what we call a noun sentence. What's a noun sentence? Okay? A noun sentence is the English way of utilizing sentences by which you would use words like is, are, am. Okay? So, ani is the first person, which is the word for I. Ani Adam, so Adam is the proper noun, which is Adam. Okay? So what would we be saying here? Well, we're having to put the verbs is, are, and am in between these two because we do not in Hebrew have verbs of existence. This is assumed as a part of the grammatical element of the language. So when we say, for example, Ani Adam, you're saying I am Adam. Alright? If you were to change this noun from ani, and let's say it was ata, then you would say what? You, right? Because this is the second person. You are Adam, right? If I was to change this pronoun and make it who, what would it be? Who is he in Hebrew? He is Adam.